Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Kowalczyk here with another video for Business Math. Today, I'm going to do it a little bit differently than I've done it before, and I'm going to take over the whole screen of my computer to show you how to do Section 17.8. In Section 17.8, what we are looking at is companies and the decisions they have to make on the amount of items that they try and produce. Today, for our example, we're looking at a company called Golden Pond Printing. Golden Pond Printing. And they're real big into making all types of books. And so a company like Golden Pond Printing, what they have to decide is, hey, how many books are we going to make? And will we be making the right amount of books? Because sometimes companies can make too many of an item. Perhaps too many books in this case, or sometimes they might print too few of books. And let's be honest, here in America, companies are all about making money. Making money, or also known as making a profit. That's what they're all about. So, companies sometimes have to do some research, they have to do some math, and they have to make a decision on how many items they are going to produce. And once again, in this case, Golden Pond Printing wants to figure out, hey, how many items are we going to print off? How many books are we going to print off? Well, when deciding that, they have ideas that they have to keep in mind. They have to figure out, all right, how much are we going to sell this book for? And how much will it cost us to make the book? You see, by taking all of that into consideration, they can come up with something known as the possible net profit. It's not a guarantee that they'll make this profit. It's just what they believe will happen. It's a hypothesis. All right? And so we're going to be doing that for a lot of our problems today. So, to kind of help us get going, we are going to be using 3 different steps. The first step helps us find the fixed costs per unit. Now you might be asking yourself, all right, so what's a fixed cost? A fixed cost is a cost that is going to stay the same amount, and it doesn't matter how many items they make. For example, if Golden Pond Printing is going to be printing books, they're going to have a factory building to print them in. And that building might have a rent bill or a mortgage bill that they have to pay. And here's the truth. It doesn't matter how many books they plan on printing this month. Their rent will always stay the same. It's just like a 4-bedroom apartment. A 4-bedroom apartment can have 1 person living in it or 4 people living in it. It doesn't matter how many people are living in it, it's still going to cost the same amount of money. Same thing with fixed costs. These are expenses or costs that will stay the same no matter what. So we want to know, what are the fixed costs per unit? Also known as, in this case, fixed costs per book that is made. Step 2 helps us to find the total costs. You see, we need to know what the fixed costs are so we can plug it into that formula. But then what we also need to know is the variable costs. The variable costs that I just circled in blue. You see, the variable costs are those costs that change based on how many books you're making. For example, if you are making a bunch of books, it's going to probably take more electricity to run the different machines. If you're making less books, it'll cost less in electricity. So that's an example of a variable cost. It changes based on the number of books or the number of items a company is producing. And if you add both of these two together, you will receive the total cost per unit. Now once again, the total cost per unit is how much it costs to make that book, or how much it costs to make that car, or that Frisbee, or that couch, or that blue jean denim jacket. Whatever companies are making, it costs money to make them. And so what's the total cost? Once you know the total cost, you can plug it into step 3. And you take the selling price per unit minus that total cost. And that's your profit per item. And so you might make $10 for every book that you make. Well, that's pretty good. What's the total amount of money you'll make? Well, you got to multiply that then times the estimated unit sales. And if you finish out by doing step 3, you'll figure out the possible net profit. So, let's get rocking, let's get rolling, and jump right into this example. As you can see, I'm doing problem number 1 from your homework. This is an example from your homework. But I'm only going to do A. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm only doing A. I'm not doing B. I'm going to let you do letter B on your own. So, Golden Pond Printing prints all types of books. They have fixed costs of $120,000. The variable costs per unit are $21. Now, these two things are super important. They're so important, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them inside of boxes. That's right, I'm going to put them inside of boxes. The reason why they're so important is because we're not only going to use them for A, but we're also going to use them for B, and if you keep going down, you'll use them for C. All right? You'll use them for pretty much all of the problems. So you need to make sure that you separate these two numbers and know that they're used for everything. Now we can move on to letter A. If this company has estimated unit sales of 10,000 units and a selling price per unit of 45 bucks, what will the fixed costs per unit be? By the way, they're talking about fixed costs per unit. That's right here. Okay, so we're going to use step 1. We're going to use step 1. All right. So, with that being said, let's get rolling. Step 1. All right, first off, I need to know what my fixed costs are. Well, once again, my fixed costs are in that red box. So it's $120,000. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide that by the estimated unit sales. Estimated unit sales, and it's kind of like that kind of lightish blue color, all right? That's a fancy way of saying, all right, how many books do we plan on making and selling? How many books do we plan on making and selling? So if we do all the math and we get that all figured out, we get $12, okay? Now we move on to the next box or the next line. What will the total cost per unit be? Well, that's going to be step 2. What will the total cost per unit be? All right? Total cost per unit, step 2. What I need to know, once again, what are my fixed costs per unit? By the way, that's the answer we just got a few moments ago, $12. And now we're going to add that. We're going to add that to the variable costs that we see. The variable costs. And the variable costs are $21. You see, we're going to spend $21 in variable costs for every book we make. So I add all these up, and I get $33. Okay, so far, we've got our fixed costs, we've got our variable costs, and when you add them up, you get 33. So let's go on to the last blank. We still got this blank that we need to figure out. And what we're trying to find here is what is the possible net profit. The possible net profit. And that leads us to step 3. That leads us to step 3. And as you can see, step 3 could be kind of a long one here because we're going to have to use some parentheses. And then we can put in the selling price. Now, our selling price is the purple underline. Notice how it's not in a box. It's just a purple underline. That is $45. And what we're going to do is we're going to subtract from it the $33 that we just found. Now, you could probably do that in your head and you get $12, okay? You take 45 minus 33, that's $12. But what you still have to do, folks, what you still have to do is multiply it by the estimated unit sales. Once again, how many units do we plan on making and selling? How many units do we plan on making and selling? So, if you take your $12 that you get from inside the parentheses, because you always do your parentheses first, and you multiply it times 10,000 units, well, if you do that, you're going to get $120,000. That big number right there, this big number that I am going to circle in this yellow-orange color, this number right here, that's the total profit they plan on making if, and only if, they sell 10,000 units at $45 each. That's the key. They have to sell those units at $45 each, and that's the profit. After they've paid all their bills, they'll be able to put that into their pockets. All right? Now, it looks like we're done with my example. You're going to have to do letter B on your own. But when you're doing letter B, what you're going to notice is that this time we don't have 10,000 estimated unit sales. This time it's 8,000. That's different. And our selling price is a little bit different per unit. Our selling price is $65.50. It's not that 45 number. Okay? So we've got a few new dollar amounts and numbers that we have to deal with. Now, just in case you're wondering, for letter B, you are still going to have to use these two box numbers up here, the red and the green one. You're still going to have to use those, but now you have a new purple and a new light blue number to factor into your formulas. Okay? Now, when you're done with B, you'll do letter C, and then you have to do letter D. And if you read it, you'll notice which will result in the best possible net profit. In other words, what's going to make this company the most money? Will it be better for them to make and sell 10,000 units, or is it better to make 8,000 units, or is it better to make 7,000 units? You see, what you're trying to do is find the answer that's going to give you the biggest dollar amount. And so far, what we've got to look at for dollar amounts is this number right here. Well, you're going to have to compare it versus this for the 8,000 number. And then go kind of scroll down a little bit and do the same thing for letter C. And whichever number is bigger, that's the choice you're going to make. Whether it's 10,000 or 8,000 or down here where it would be 7,000. So, I hope this made sense. If it doesn't, please feel free to go back and review any part of this video that you need to, or make a time to come and talk to Mr. K. Thanks so much and have a great day.